All right, guys, me and Renee are working out in the garage today, wrenching on the scag. We took the motor out of it. Kind of a pain in the butt job to do, but we got it done. Hi, hon.
Hi, I'm dirty today.
I want to show you guys what we got going on. So this is not very good news, guys. I took the engine out, I took it apart, and look, rod's broken off inside of the block. There is just metal everywhere. It broke the wrist pin on the piston. Look, there's the wrist pin right there. There's the wrist pin. Not good when you got a bunch of metal dancing around in the engine case. I'm gonna finish taking this apart and see what kind of damage we have. I'm not sure if this is gonna be salvageable, but let's see what happens. All right, guys, so we are on our way to a local engine shop to see if this thing can get bored out. Here's what's going on inside of the cylinder. I'm not quite sure if the camera is picking up the scoring. See if I can get it from this angle. There's a little bit of scoring in the cylinder from where the piston got stuck, and the rings on the piston kind of grooved it up a little bit. There's also some damage to the bottom of the case here. Not quite sure if that's going to be a big problem. This cylinder here seems to be pretty good shape, not bad. But we're going to take it to the engine guy, and if he can bore it out, I'm going to have him bore it out. But we'll see what he says. Alright, guys, so I got the engine back from the machine shop. I had him bore this engine to correct the problems that were inside of the cylinder. And we ended up boring this out at 25 thousandths over stock. And I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but the cylinder's cleaned up nicely. And they've been honed. And now we're ready to put this back together. So I ended up buying a Kawasaki rebuild kit. I forget where I got it from. If I can find the receipt, I'll include it in the description below. But I got new pistons, new connecting rods, new crankshaft, all new gaskets and seals, piston rings, you name it. I got everything I need to rebuild this engine and hopefully get this thing back together and get it running. All right, guys, so here's inside the engine right here. As you can see, it's all cleaned out. Super clean. Inside this crank journal here was a little rough. Had a little bit of grooving, not much. So what I ended up doing was I took some 400 grit sandpaper and I smoothed that out to get that nice and smooth. Where the cam sits inside this journal here, that's nice and smooth, so that's good. You can see right here where when the connecting rod broke on the cylinder, it almost went right through the block. Luckily it didn't. So that's good news there. So what I'm going to do is I got my new crankshaft here. I just want to verify that this crank is the same as my old one before I put it in. And once we know that it's the right crank, we can put the crank in. All right, guys, so here's the new crank. Here's the old one. Both of them are identical. And as you guys can see right here, this was the damage that happened to the crankshaft when the engine blew up. It scored this up pretty bad. This is no good. Luckily the kit ended up coming with a new crank anyway, so that actually worked out well. But now that I've verified that these two cranks are the same, we can install this new crank. So guys, for assembly lube, I'm using just some good old WD-40. Works very well for assembly. Where the crank's going to sit in this journal here, I'm just going to spray some of that in there. And spray some on the end of this crankshaft here. Lube up where the rods are going to go. And now we can take this crankshaft and slide it right in. So guys, crankshaft's in, spins freely, nice, nothing funky going on, that's what you want. Now, the next part is going to be installing the pistons, but what I need to do first is I need to assemble them. So let's get them assembled. I'll get them assembled off camera, and then when they are assembled, I'll show you what I did. All right guys, I got one piston assembled, and I do want to take the time to show you how these go together. As you can see, I got the wrist pin in, and I got the retainer clips in. I don't know if you can see the retainer clips inside of the groove in there, but I just want to take the time and show you how it goes. All right, so let's take our WD-40 here. We're going to spray the wrist pin down. We're going to spray inside the holes where the wrist pin goes. We're going to spray the barrel here of the connecting rod, and this is what we're going to do. This goes in here like this, okay, and then the wrist pin is going to go through the middle. Let me put you down here so I can just get this in on camera. So this goes like this. Okay, now that's on. This is what it looks like when it's on. Okay, I got this oiled up. You don't want to put this together dry. You always want to have some sort of lube or oil in there. So, can you guys see these little grooves right here? It's inside. Let's see if I can get a better angle here on the camera. It's inside of the piston itself. There's a little groove in there. That's where these go. So what you do is, see how there's like a little notch right here? You want to line the ends of this up with the notch. And what you do is you get it started in the groove like this, and then you press down, and this is like a snap ring. That'll lock into place, and that'll stop this wrist pin from falling out. Now, I'm not going to be able to do this on camera because I don't have a cameraman filming, but I'm going to get that in now. I'll get one side in and try to show you what it looks like. All right, guys, so this is just about ready to lock in. We'll see if we can hear it snap in. Did you guys hear that? That just locked into the groove. That's what you want. Can you guys see it in there? So we're going to repeat the process on the other side, and this wrist pin will be secured. All right, guys, so we got both of them in. So now when we take our piston and we wiggle it back and forth, the wrist pin won't fall out because those retainers are holding it together. So now that these are on, let's get ready to put them in. Guys, I got one piston prepared off camera with the rings on it, ready to go. On the other one, I haven't done yet. I'm going to show you how we do it. All right, guys, you'll see that we have 5 piston rings here. These are Kawasaki piston rings that came with this kit here. These are oversized rings, 25 thousandths oversized. And you'll see that we have 2 thin ones. These are very, very thin. Okay. You have a thick one, medium-sized one, and then you have one that has like a beveled taper on the bottom of it. And let me show you how these go on. So basically what's going to happen is this is going to go on first, okay? And then you're going to have one of these on the bottom and top of this ring here. Above that, this one will go, and then above that, this one will go. So let's put this on for you now. All right, so we're going to start with this ring right here. This is going to go on the very bottom of the piston, and it's very easy to put them on. They stretch, you know. You don't have to go crazy putting them on, but they go over the piston nice and easily. So we'll put this on the very last groove of the piston first. All right, so we got that on. Went on very easily. Now we're going to take one of these thin rings here, and that's going to go on the bottom of this. And then this other one here is going to go on the top of this, okay? So let's put this one on the bottom first. All right, guys, so we got the bottom ring on. You can see it right here. It's just hanging out. Now let's put the ring on top of this one. All right, guys, I got all 3 rings on. One on the bottom, one in the middle, one on the top. This is the order that it goes. Now let's get this ring put onto this groove. All right, guys, got this ring on this groove. Now let's put this ring on the very top groove. Now, guys, see this like beveled machined edge I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but there's like a beveled machined edge. That faces down on the top. Okay, so this ring does go on a certain way, and you want the machined bevel part facing down. So let's put this on now. All right, guys, now that these rings are on, you need to orient these rings in a certain way. See the ends of the rings right here? You want these joints staggered, okay? You don't want the ends of the rings going down in a straight line. You want them about 45 degrees apart from one another. So you want, say, the top one here, where it's right there. The end of the next ring you want right here. The end of the next ring you want it like right here. And then the end of the last ring right here. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, guys, so what we've done here is we've done what's called staggering the rings, the ring ends. So you see on the top here, there's the end of the rings. And you go 180 degrees, there's the other end of the rings. 45 degrees, there's another end of the rings. And then another 180 degrees is the end of those rings, okay? So you don't have any joints in line with each other, which is what you want. This ensures that you'll have good compression, you won't have any blow-by or things like that. So this is the way you want to do it. You always want the ends of the rings staggered from one another. You never want them in a straight line, okay? Just a little tip for you. All right, guys, as you can see, I got one piston in already. And when I spin the crankshaft, it goes up and down the way it should. Now, let me show you how we put the other side in. All right, first things first, take off the bottom of the connecting rod. Okay, you don't need that on there. That goes on after the piston and the rod are in. Next, let's take some WD-40. Let's lube up this cylinder. You don't want to put anything in dry. Lube up the piston and the rings. Get a good lube on everything. Now, let me show you the next step. All right, guys, these pistons don't drop inside the cylinder any sort of way. They do go in a special way. Now, if you look right here, you see an arrow. See this arrow right here? That's indicating that the piston is directed towards the flywheel. That is the way it's supposed to be installed. You want this arrow facing towards the flywheel side of the engine. That is the way that this goes in. You don't want the arrow facing up. You don't want it facing any other direction besides back towards the flywheel. Now, if you look on this one too, the one I already installed, see how it's facing towards the flywheel on this side? That's what you want. So we're going to replicate that on this side, and we'll know that our pistons are installed correctly. This here is called a piston ring compressor. The way this works is you put it over the piston like so. You take your ratchet with an extension on it, and as you crank this in, this band tightens and compresses these rings so you can get it into the cylinder, okay? So let me show you what that looks like now. All right, guys, so I got this thing fully compressed. As you can see, the piston rings are compressed. So that's what you want. So now what you want to do is lightly, with a dead blow hammer or something soft, lightly tap the piston into the cylinder, okay? You don't need to smash it. You don't need to bang on it hard. You just want to tap on it lightly. Now, I am going to have to do this part off camera because I have no way of propping this camera up to show you. But basically, all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this square, and I'm going to lightly tap this in until it's all the way in the cylinder and flush with the top of the engine case. And voila, it's in. Let's see where the rod is. Still got a little ways to go. So what I'm going to do is just take my hammer, just like this, nice and lightly, tap it in. See how it's going down? That's what you want, guys. You don't need to hit it hard. Just lightly tap it. Okay, that's all the way in. See how the rod is on the crank? That's what you want to see. It's all the way on it. It's resting on it. Now we're going to take this, put some WD-40 on it, and we're going to put this on the connecting rod, on the bottom of the connecting rod. So it's going to hug the crankshaft like so. All right, guys, I got these connecting rod bolts tightened down and torqued down the way they're supposed to be. Now, the very next important step is to verify that you have smooth operation of the rotating assembly. And we want to make sure that this piston here does not come up past this deck on any cylinder. So let's go ahead and do a test run here. I'm manually turning the crank with a wrench. So I'm going to bring it up to top dead center, which would mean the piston is level with the top of the block. And I want to make sure that the piston is not protruding past, because if it does, you got a problem. And see how it's just about level with the deck? And it's going to start to go back down. That's perfect. That's what you want. Let's check on the other side here. Perfect. Perfect. That's what you want. Nice smooth operation. Awesome. Perfect. Next step, let's put the camshaft in. Alright guys, here's our camshaft. It's ready to go in. First, let's put some assembly lube on it, which is our WD-40. I'll go ahead and spray that right now. Alright, very important. This has to be timed correctly, guys, when you put this in. Okay. Alright guys, I got the camshaft in. Now let me point out something that's very, very important. See this dot right here? Right there. That's your timing mark. That dot needs to line up with the very small dot that's on the crankshaft itself. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's right here, okay? So this mark lines up with this mark. That's for your engine timing. If these two marks are not lined up, when you put that in, you'll have nothing but problems, okay? Also, when you put your cam back in, you want to make sure that you got all your washers in there, your spacers, just as they were when it came out. All right, guys, now that the rotating assembly is in and everything's good, we verified the timing is correct on the engine. Now we can put the crankcase cover back on. And before we do that, I picked up some Permatex Ultra Black sealant. This is great for oil and stuff like that. It won't break down. So basically what we're going to do is I cleaned up this entire surface. It's very important that this is very clean prior to putting Permatex down, okay? And then what I did was I sprayed it down with some brake cleaner and got it nice and clean. Inside this journal here, I took some 400 grit sandpaper and smoothed that out. It's not necessary, but I wanted to do it just to make sure that everything was nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pretty generous bead of Permatex around the whole perimeter here, and then we'll be able to put this cover on. Alright, so we got the black Permatex on there. And just a quick tip, guys. The easiest way to avoid any sort of leaks is to have one continuous bead of the Permatex. Wherever you stop, if you were to stop, that could be a potential leak. So when you do this, a quick tip is to just keep the bead all together. Don't stop. Okay? So now that I got a pretty generous amount of Permatex on there, we're ready to put this cover back on. Let's get it done. Alright guys, so I got the crankcase cover back on. I got the bolts started. Now another very important step is you want to tighten these in a cross pattern. So for instance, I got this top one here started. I'm going to go down to the bottom and get that one started. And I just want to do a cross pattern like this on the whole thing. Now, you don't want to just tighten this up all the way, because what will happen is all this Permatex will just ooze out inside of the engine and you won't get a good seal. So what you want to do is you want to get all these bolts snug, wait about 20 minutes for the Permatex to set up a little bit, and then you can tighten them up. So I'm going to go get these snug now. We'll wait, 15, 20 minutes for the Permatex to get a little stiffer, and then we'll tighten it up. All right, guys, so I got these snug. They're not tight. They're just a little over finger tight. And as you can see here, you can see the Permatex starting to come out of the case. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see it all oozing out. Okay? We know that we're gonna have a good seal here now, based off what I'm seeing here. So we're gonna let this set up for another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll tighten it down. All right, guys, it's all tightened up, all sealed up. The engine's now ready to have the heads put back on it. I'm gonna make another video on that. That's gonna be a separate video. I don't want to make this video too long, but basically in the next video I'll show you how we put the heads together. We'll lap the valves. We'll get the whole head cleaned up. I'll show you how we put the head gaskets on and so forth. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video, guys. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And we'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye.